Hello. In this video, I want to look at a couple of rules. The first is the product rule, and the second is the quotient rule. So first of all, the product rule is actually not too bad. It says if the product rule is a product of two different functions, and u prime and v prime both exist, then the derivative of the total function is just u times v prime plus v times u prime. Now, the way that I do this is that, first of all, what you see here is you see just some words. It says the derivative of a product of two functions is the first function times the derivative of the second, plus the second function times the derivative of the first. What I'd like to write down is the following. F prime equals u v prime plus v u prime. In other words, it is the first times derivative of the second plus the second times derivative of the first. That's the way that I like to think of it as. So it's the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. That's the product rule. The quotient rule is if it's a quotient of two different functions and both exist, and also v of x is not equal to 0, then f prime of x is the following. V u prime minus u v prime all over v squared. Now what this tells me, v u prime minus u v prime all over v squared. It's a little easier to see that way. In words, it's the derivative of the quotient is the denominator times the derivative of the numerator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator, all divided by the square of the denominator. So the way that I like to say this is the bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. There we go. So it's the bottom times the derivative of the top minus the top times the derivative of the bottom all over the bottom squared. Awesome. Now for marginal average cost, that's actually not anything that's too crazy here. Basically, if you have c of x, you can find c bar of x. And once you have c bar of x, you can find the marginal c bar of x, in other words, the marginal average cost. Alrighty. Well, that's the introduction to this section. Let's go ahead and see how we use these. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun.